Can you afford to get term life insurance as a resident or even as a fellow? And if you're already an attending, how much should you be buying if you have kind of put it off and you're a little ashamed that you did and you knew you needed to do it, but you just let other things get in the way? So that's what I'm going to talk about in today's video, is buying life insurance for physicians. Now, most physicians at some point get hit up with the offer of a free steak dinner or some sort of really nice gift or presentation or very helpful person that is randomly interested in you, that you barely talked to in college or high school, that suddenly wants to hang out and meet up for coffee. That's usually a dead giveaway that they're trying to sell you whole life insurance. So whole life insurance is basically this product that has term life insurance combined with an investment product. Basically, the life insurance company has a long, long history of investing money to cover their insurance obligations. So they take the money, they invest it in conservative things, and then give you some sort of lower return on your investments, and then they promise to back it up because they're putting the money in stuff that they presume is somewhat conservative, and they'll never have to worry about crashing in, a Great Depression kind of environment. That's basically whole life, is they're giving you a lower return for a very complicated product that I do not recommend at all. Physicians should absolutely only be buying term life insurance. So if anybody ever tries to sell you whole life insurance, that's a clue that you should never buy term life insurance from them instead. Now, the alternatives is just a comparison shop in a marketplace. The one that we recommend is our referral partner, Policy Genius. So you can actually go to studentloanplanner.com/life to compare a lot of different offers as a physician, which is pretty convenient. That's what my wife and I use to get our own life insurance policy set up. So let's talk a little bit about why you would get term life insurance. These are the reasons. If you have anyone depending on you for your income or your future income, you should have term life insurance. Now, for residents, you might be making $60,000 a year, but as an attending, you could be making $300,000 a year. We generally recommend people have 8 to 10 times their income in term life insurance for the duration of the period that they're going to be responsible for someone. So, for example, if you have let's say a parent who's making a pretty low income who would be really in big trouble if something happened to you, heaven forbid, then you need to make sure that you have a policy that's large enough that would be able to give them a lump sum of money that they could maybe get 5% of every year and have their expenses covered. So for example, maybe if you're giving your parents, say, $20,000 to $30,000 a year of assistance, you would need maybe $500,000 to $750,000 of term life insurance for kind of the expected life that they would not be in a nursing home, for example. Okay, so until they're maybe like 85, 90, something like that. Now, if you have children or thinking about having children, that's another really important reason why you need to have term life insurance. Now, if you have kids and you don't have that, then you're basically walking around with a loaded gun situation. And the reason I use that terminology is because if something bad did happen, then suddenly this future life that your kids were going to have is totally, totally different. And it's now reliant upon whoever your partner, assuming that you have a two-parent household, whoever your partner is going to end up marrying, that's going to be that new lifestyle that child is going to have. Most people want that child to have the lifestyle they would have had regardless of whether or not you're here or not. Okay, so in terms of what college they attend, in terms of maybe getting their first car, in terms of what house that they're going to live in. And so for that reason, that's why we come up with 8 to 10 times your income as being a good amount of coverage for term life insurance. Now, as a resident, you're making $60,000, $65,000. So that might be, that's not the income multiple you want to use, it's the attending income multiple. So you might not get approved for 8 to 10 times your attending income, which is fine. I would say the vast majority of people will be well served with a 20-year term life policy for about $2 million. Most physicians would find that is enough, that they would at least have enough to pay their kids' college, pay off the mortgage, probably pay off car loans, have an emergency fund, and then still have a little bit left over to handle other bills and to get your spouse and your children a little bit of extra leeway as they adjust to this this new normal in their lives. Okay, so the reality is the vast majority of people don't think about getting term life insurance in place until way after the fact, when they've already been exposed for several years to that risk of losing a primary breadwinner type income. And that's not a good thing, because you just got lucky that nothing happened, right? And luckily, life insurance for term life insurance is very, very cheap. You can buy a policy for about $20 to $40 a month for a $1 million term policy for 20 years if you have really excellent health. probably closer to $40 a month for a 20-year term, but that's really cheap. $40 a month to not have to worry about your family is a very cheap price to pay for that peace of mind. And if you have net worth in the millions of dollars, you don't need term life insurance, but the vast majority of you watching as physicians do not have that coverage, right? So that's why if you shop, I would suggest getting a policy from a company that's rated A+, or A++ from AM Best, which is the company that rates life insurance companies. And again, if you apply through studentloanplanner.com/life, you'll be able to compare a whole bunch of different options all at once. It'll be a fairly straightforward process, I think. And in most cases, if you're applying for $1 to $2 million, they may or may not require a medical exam, but I would just be prepared to do one because it's going to get you a lower rate if you go through a medical exam, which is generally just a nurse comes to your house, takes a blood sample, and asks you a couple questions, and it's very, very straightforward. So get term life insurance and stop putting it off. And if you have any questions about that process or how much you think that you need to get or any experiences that you want to share, feel free to sound off in the comments in the video below or on the blog post that we linked to with this YouTube video.